at 6, Multnomah County pushes pause on tents and tarps, with a big deal around funding to fight homelessness in the Rose City still up in the air.
I have to mull that over. It looks like I get a week to do that.
Plus, a local high school now looking for a new football coach. What he's accused of doing that prompted calls to police.
Then, a plan to crack down on bad parking in Portland.
The pandemic's clearly been over for a couple years, and folks have not gone back to normal.
Why not? Paying up could get your vehicle booted.
And it's draft day for the Portland Trail Blazers. We're live where all the action is going down as the team sets a course for the future.
Good evening, everyone. We want to get right to breaking news in the NBA draft, where the Portland Trail Blazers have just made their first selection, and with the number 7 pick, they have decided to take center Donovan Clingan from the University of Connecticut.
So he's a 2-time national champion, 7'2", 20 years old, who has averaged 13 points and 2.5 blocks per game in his sophomore season. Wow. The Blazers also had the number 14 pick, but late this afternoon, they traded the pick to the Washington Wizards. Our Orlando Sanchez has the details and reaction live from the Blazers training facility in Tualatin, coming up in just about 15 minutes.
Updates coming fast and furious. All right, we are also following major development this evening when it comes to tents and tarps for homeless people, with Multnomah County now putting purchases on pause as it tries to reach a broader agreement with the city.
The move comes less than 72 hours before the city was set to vote on whether the city will keep sending money, millions of dollars in fact, to the county-led Office of Homeless Services.
Blair Best was in that meeting and is in the newsroom right now with the update. Blair.
David, what was slated for 15 minutes today lasted about 2 hours. Tents and tarps have been a sticking point for some city commissioners during these conversations. They don't want city money going towards supplies for homeless people that the city will then turn around and spend millions removing. The new contract on the table calls for the city to send the county about $30 million a year for the next 3 years to address homelessness. The current contract expires on Sunday, and city commissioners have yet to reach a decision on if that will continue. But in an unanticipated move, the Multnomah County chair ordered the Joint Office of Homeless Services to stop purchasing tents and tarps until a new policy is developed. That's according to Portland City Commissioner Renee Gonzalez's office. The Joint Office is the city and county-run group that manages money meant for the crisis, though the county holds most of the power.
I'm very appreciative of this step forward from them and really helping us clean up the city. I'm not surprised by the timing at all in that respect, but the good news is it helped accelerate a conversation that had been dragging on for a bit.
Now, the conversations today also went beyond tents and tarps as commissioners debated for hours on who will ultimately decide what that city money is spent on. Today ended with the mayor pushing the issue to a third reading and a potential vote next week.
Yeah, definitely an interesting debate. We'll see how this all concludes. Thank you, Blair. Developing this evening in the Beaverton School District, a high school football coach has resigned. He is accused of shaking and slapping students while they were sleeping in their beds at an off-site summer sports camp.
Let's get right to Ashley Graham's live at Westview High with those details. Ashley?
Well, that coach, Jamal Jones, led the Westview High School football team for just 1 year. The principal sending out a letter to families today in the district confirming to us in just the last few hours that Jones has resigned. Now, here's a look at part of the letter that principal sent out to families. The principal saying our goal is to work to ensure our players and their families feel safe returning to the Westview football program and for our student athletes to be able to look forward to a successful season. Now, this comes after students say Jones woke them up at about 1 in the morning by slapping them and shaking them. The students were attending an overnight football camp at Linfield University in McMinnville. I talked to the parent today over the phone, and she's furious. She says Jones slapped her son. The McMinnville Police Department responded to the university, did a welfare check, and they are investigating. Jones is not just a coach, he's also a Hillsborough police officer. The police department telling us that he's on leave for the time being, though he has not been charged criminally in any way. Now, as for the football team, the principal says they're still looking for an interim head coach. Christine, David.
Thanks, Ashley. Appreciate the update. Let's get to your headlines now, starting in North Portland, where a man was killed in a shooting in the Arbor Lodge neighborhood. Portland police say this was around 5:30 this morning on North Atlantic Avenue near Buffalo Street. Authorities say by the time they arrived, the man was dead. So far, no arrests have been made, and there's no information about any suspects.
A major Supreme Court ruling on homelessness is expected to come down tomorrow or Friday. The case is out of Southern Oregon, but it'll have implications on cities across the country. Grants Pass started fining homeless people for camping or sleeping in public places. A group of homeless people sued the city, saying the move violates constitutional protections against cruel and unusual punishment. After testimony back in April, legal experts expect the justices to side with the city of Grants Pass. Our Pat Doris has much more on this story coming up at 6:30 on The Story.
Meanwhile, it appears the Supreme Court accidentally and briefly posted a draft of its Idaho abortion decision. Bloomberg Law, which obtained a copy, is reporting the decision would essentially permit emergency abortions in Idaho if the mother's health is in jeopardy. To be clear, this decision has not yet been officially released, and the opinion was quickly removed from the Supreme Court's website. Now, beyond this decision and the Grants Pass case, we are also expecting a ruling on former President Trump's immunity claims by the end of the week.
Today, Portland City Commissioner Carmen Rubio picked up a big endorsement in her race for Portland mayor. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek is now backing Rubio. In a statement, Kotek touted Rubio's track record and focus on issues like affordable housing and homelessness. Today, we asked Rubio to weigh in on this big endorsement.
I know that she, like me, we both believe that there needs to be true, real alignment to tackle our toughest challenges right now in public safety, in housing, and homelessness.
Rubio is going up against two of her fellow commissioners, Renee Gonzalez and Dominguez Maps. In total, 8 people have filed to run for mayor.
And a fire crew from Clackamas County has now joined the fight against a growing wildfire in Central Oregon. 3 firefighters and a task force leader left this morning to help battle the Darlene 3 fire. This broke out yesterday afternoon in Deschutes County, just east of La Pine, and so far has burned more than 2,600 acres. Right now, level 3 go now evacuation orders are in effect outside of town, with those in La Pine urged to be ready to go if conditions change. At last update, this fire was 30% contained. Matt?
All right, David, thanks very much. A lot of wind around Oregon today. That's problematic for firefighters, of course, but not the Oregon coast. It's cloudy, it's cool. There's been some drizzle, a little bit breezy there. We're finally getting some sun, though, today out in Washington County anywhere at the Reserve Golf Course. Some nice sun breaks, still cool. Haven't made 70 there. It's been a tough get in Western Oregon today because we're running 17, 18, 21 degrees cooler than this time yesterday. Remember, just yesterday we were near 90. Today we've been struggling to make it up to 70. And again, the cooling that we're seeing, that's fueling the wind that we're seeing, gusts over 40 miles an hour out in the Columbia Basin. But we may get a few sprinkles overnight tonight. No heavy rainfall, barely enough to even wet the pavement, if that, or your windshield. And then it clears off, especially on Friday. It'll get warmer. We're back up around 80 degrees. Cooler, some clouds on Sunday, but we'll begin July on Monday. We'll talk about how we're going to begin July on Monday a little bit later on, guys. Back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Matt. Now at 6, the Portland Bureau of Transportation is expected to get more aggressive when it comes to parking enforcement.
Let's bring in Sydney Dorner with a look at the changes in the works and the potential consequences. Sydney?
David, Christine, with City Council's approval, PBOT plans to hire 22 new parking enforcement officers. They say post-pandemic, drivers never got back into the habit of paying the meter, registering their car, and keeping an up-to-date license plate. This is not only a safety concern, officials say, but it has also created a deficit in the millions.
People gambled a lot more about paying because they thought, oh, well, if I only see one person a week, I'm not going to pay because I'm not going to get caught.
Patty Olinger has been a parking enforcement officer for PBOT for almost 9 years. She says during the pandemic, officers like herself gave people plenty of slack, but starting July 8th, that will change.
Part of just having us be out here consistently makes it where people are not going to gamble so much and decide, oh, well, you know, maybe I will take the risk.
Recent data from the DMV shows an alarming number of Portlanders have let their car registration lapse. In May, officers cited 2,400 cars for expired registration and 670 vehicles for not having a license plate. PBOT plans to hire nearly 24 new parking enforcement officers who will focus on expired tags, missing plates, wrong-way parking, and cars blocking visibility at intersections.
We feel like there's so many violations that these violations are having not just an effect on the perception of lawlessness and chaos on our streets, they're also having a budgetary impact.
PBOT said it lost millions during the pandemic due to a more relaxed approach. These new officers will also allow PBOT to focus on neighborhoods outside downtown, where they say people can tend to park in ways that are unsafe. Ultimately, they hope drivers can understand the big change.
But unfortunately, we're going to have to spend some money with additional enforcement officers to get people back in the habit of following the rules that we all followed before the pandemic.
Now, not only is PBOT hiring more parking enforcement officers starting July 8th, they will be booting cars that have more than $500 in outstanding tickets. David, Christine, back to you.
I guess we have all been warned, right? Yeah. Thanks, Sydney. In Portland's St. John's neighborhood, the new Cathedral Park dock is set to debut this weekend with a community swim party.
Yeah, it's a Human Access Project, which is a nonprofit dedicated to increasing swimming in the Willamette River, began revitalizing Cathedral Park Beach in 2021. The $900,000 project includes swim ladders and pontoons for better water circulation. The swim party will be this Saturday from 2 to 8 p.m. There will be live music, food, a free basic swimming lesson for the kiddos, and free kayak rentals. Sounds like a ton of fun. Okay, coming up, recognition. More than 4 decades in the making. Why it took so long to honor a fallen Portland firefighter.
But first, a big programming note. The first presidential debate of 2024 is less than 24 hours away, with President Joe Biden, former President Donald Trump set to square off Thursday evening in Atlanta. It's hosted by CNN, and we'll bring it to you live at 6 here on KGW. Then at 8, NBC's coverage of the U.S. Olympic track and field trials picks up in Eugene, followed by a complete wrap of the day's headlines on KGW News at 11.